The imagined world of cultivation. Moving mountains and filling the sea, pointing fingers to cover the sky, inhumane heaven and earth, using all things as cut dogs. The actual world of cultivation. Crazy infrastructure, climbing the technology tree, leading ordinary people to revolutionize the lives of practitioners. Luchuan is a chosen person by heaven, and he has a copper coin that can determine the truth. Science Department. Brother Chuan, we have a new scientific hypothesis. Can you help us verify it? Ministry of Justice. Brother Chuan, there has been a murder case on Hepping Street. Can you help investigate the culprit? A certain lady. Can you help me check if this guy has ever liked another woman? Man Demai, Chuan Gu Demai. This world of cultivation is not very normal, but it is very interesting. We have completed a high-quality work called Don't Retire. Friends who like it can go and take a look. Keywords of the novel. This world of cultivation is not very normal without pop-ups. This world of cultivation is not very normal. Download the complete set of TXT. This world of cultivation is not very normal. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Rainy Night. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1. Rainy Night. Rainy Night. A group of villagers in shabby clothes are struggling through the mountain forest. The mountain road becomes muddy and difficult to walk under the rainstorm. The feeling of being wet and clinging to the body is also terrible. The rainstorm has lasted for half a night, and the villagers have no intention of stopping. However, the villagers have stopped moving slowly. Lu Yen, who leads the way in the front, temporarily left the team to explore the way, so that other villagers can take shelter from the rain and have a rest nearby. Lu Yen is the most experienced hunter in the village. If he hadn't observed the enemy's movements when he returned from hunting yesterday, and if it hadn't been for the sudden rainstorm, I'm afraid that no one in the village could have escaped. The person in front stopped moving, and Luchuan could only stop. He pulled away his hair and rainwater from his face, turned back to look in the direction of the village below the mountain, and a towering flame stood out in the rainy night. It has been 5 days and he still finds it difficult to adapt to this new world. This is a world where one can practice. He witnessed with his own eyes that Lu Yen shot an arrow with lightning, nailing a giant python to the ground. But the birthplace of Lujia village in the northern border of Wugua is poor and dilapidated, and the infrastructure is also very poor. Lu Chuan is also a young master who can never do without air conditioning in the summer at Blue Star, and even if he goes 500 meters on rainy days, he will definitely take a taxi. In this new world, if he wants to make a fire, he has to go to the mountains to pick up firewood by himself. Without mobile phones and computers, without family and friends, I am full of confusion about my future life. The only thing that comforted Lu Chuan was the orphan's background. With his past experience in reading online articles and a proper protagonist template, he traveled through time to become an orphan. Unfortunately, almost everyone in Lujia village has the surname Lu and does not belong to the 4 major families of Yilin, Shaochu, which makes this background a bit less perfect. Don't look at Brother Chuan, it's gone. Lu Hu patted and looked at Lu Chuan, who was distracted at the foot of the mountain, saying that the fire generated by the magic could not be extinguished in the rainstorm. There were several villagers in the village in the fire who were reluctant to leave. It was obvious that they could not escape now. Damn it, the defenders of Zhenbei Pass are all garbage. The army of Jing Kingdom has already reached Longchuan County, but there was no warning in advance. Bah! Lu Hu spat in frustration. Lujia village is the hinterland of Wu Kingdom, and he couldn't figure out how Jing Kingdom's Longxiang cavalry suddenly appeared after crossing Zhenbei Pass. Lu Chuan didn't respond. He still looked at the flames at the foot of the mountain, thinking that this sudden disaster seemed like a standard feature for the protagonist to force. Wherever he went, there would be fighting, and innocent people around him would die in agony. Huzi, where are we going now? The rain covered Lu Chuan's face again, and he covered his face with his hands and wiped it on both sides, struggling to ask. Waiting for my dad's message. If there's no problem, there should be a shortcut ahead that leads to Baining City. Lu Hu turned his head and looked at the front of the team. In the pitch-black forest, there was a faint light flashing rapidly, heading straight to the top of the mountain. Lu Yan is not only the most experienced hunter in the village, but also the highest combat power in the village. I heard that he went to Baining City to study when he was young, and served as a named disciple of Qing Tian's sect for several years. He once hunted and killed a 4-meter-tall black bear king alone, and dragged it back from the mountain alone. The wild forest is not safe, and the prey hiding in the daytime will also become dangerous in the rain and night. Moreover, the crisis of the villagers is not only from the wild beasts and monsters in the forest, but also from the rain and dark night in the sky, the enemies behind, and the shrunken belly. A thunderbolt fell from the sky, concealing the hunger-mournful cry emanating from Luchuan's stomach. Luchuan is convinced that he is special, and any traveler with golden fingers would have such confidence. He just needs to close his eyes and let go of his consciousness, and he can see in his mind a copper coin full of ancient charm, with one side having a dim color and the word yin written on it, and the other side having a bright color and the word yang written on it. Copper coins can provide an opportunity for Luchuan to do divination and answer a question every day. There is no limit to the scope of this question. It can confirm any facts that have occurred and already exist, but cannot predict the future. As copper coins only have two sides, they can only be a true or false question. The question that Luchuan tried on the first day was whether his original body on the blue star had died when he traveled to this new world. After the copper coin rotates, it stays on the bright and sunny side, representing. This answer, as expected by him, also made him somewhat melancholy, and also confirmed the question of divination the next day, whether there was a way to return to the blue star in this world. Copper coins also remained on the sunny side, giving him a hope to go home. On the third day, Luchuan's divination question was whether he had a natural talent for cultivation. The copper coin still showed him a bright and sunny side, but he consulted Lu Yan about the basics of cultivation while following the hunting team into the mountains. It was only then that he learned that the biggest obstacle to embarking on the path of cultivation was the lack of a substantial amount of education and training. This country of martial arts is not good. There is no compulsory education for 9-year cultivation. On the fourth day, Luchuan didn't know what to do. The skill CD was almost refreshed when he dragged it to the night. He divined a question casually, whether the man with the highest accomplishments in the world was a man or not. The copper coin rotated a few times and remained on the sunny side. Okay, man's victory. Bored Luchuan somewhat despised his golden finger, as he couldn't add points to Deep Blue, was not in the combat genre, and couldn't make money. Given his current situation, knowing that the most powerful person in the world is a man or a woman is meaningless. There was a commotion among the villagers around, and Lu Yan, who was exploring the way, returned with some bad news. The soaring flames caught the attention of Wu Guo. A magic spell called Red Flame, representing enemy attack signals, rose above the Zhenbei Pass, and the nearby Baining City also lit up signal spells, entering a state of alert. Compared with a small village that was attacked, the safety of Zhenbeiguan and Baining is obviously more important. In the case of rainstorm, no matter who is in charge of the defense, it will be based on the strategy of sticking to the ground. The flames of the village at the foot of the mountain have been extinguished, and the sudden enemy has disappeared into the rainy night without a trace. No one knows if the enemy will suddenly come out from behind, and the villagers can only silently start moving forward in the rainy night. The rain grew heavier, and all Luchuan heard were the sound of wind and rain, the rustling sound of people passing through the trees, and the cries of children in the queue, but they quickly disappeared. Then came the whispers of parents scolding. The crying and complaining voices in the team gradually became unbearable. The endless rainstorm, the dangerous mountain forest, the endless mountain road, the loss of hunger and physical strength, and the possible pursuit of soldiers at any time like huge stones crushed the villagers' psychological defense. Some people are starting to question whether it is really necessary to rush to Bainang City in the rain, as most people will fall seriously ill if they continue like this. Is it possible to find a nearby cave and hide first? The enemy may not necessarily climb the mountain, and even if they do come after them, hiding in the cave may not be found. The team stopped once again, and whether to continue moving forward may affect the lives of the entire village. Several leaders in the village also began to fiercely debate. Luchuan leaned against a tree, panting heavily. He had never been exposed to such heavy and prolonged rain in his 2 lifetimes. If it weren't for this world, Luchuan would often go hunting with everyone in the mountains, and his body would be much healthier than in his previous life. He would have been unable to hold on long ago. The voices of debate grew louder and louder, and Lu Yan insisted on going to Bainang City. As a hunter, his intuition told him that this team had already been targeted, and if he stopped, he would undoubtedly die. Lu Yan has a high reputation in the village, and everyone was able to escape the mountain before the arrival of the Jinghua Iron Cavalry thanks to his judgment and message. However, at this moment, other elders in the village instinctively avoided his gaze and chose another plan. Most villagers do not have such strong bodies, and the elderly in the village are even more so. They can no longer walk. Lu Yan fell into silence. He was a child who grew up in Lujia village and had already embarked on the path of cultivation. In the end, he returned to the small Lujia village and showed great respect to the elders in the village. But this is a life-threatening event, not just his life as Lu Yan, but also his wife and children in the team. Luchuan heard the arguments of the elders, and he couldn't even get a child to talk about such matters. However, he heard Lu Yan's concerns, and the enemy may have set their sights on this group of villagers. This was something he could help confirm, so he closed his eyes on a rainy night and the copper coins slowly spun in his mind. Are the soldiers from Jinghua who attacked Lujia village chasing us? A sunny face represents yes. Shit. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Are you an idiot? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Are you an idiot? Luchuan, leaning against the tree, suddenly opened his eyes. His first reaction was whether his damn golden finger was broken. Why did he stop on the sunny side every time for 5 consecutive times? Lu Yan's intuition is right, the enemies at the foot of the mountain are coming towards them. We can't stop, we have to continue running. Lu Yan couldn't convince everyone, and other members of the hunter team couldn't continue to support him. Everyone had family and couldn't find a place to hide from the rain. The ordinary people in the team were seriously ill. The hunter team's Lu Ming knew there was a cave nearby, and the team quickly moved and followed him towards the direction of the cave. Lu Yan looked at the villagers walking in the other direction and felt a sense of determination in his heart. Huzi, come over, let's continue walking. Lu Yan picked up his wife and waved to Lu Hu. He believed in his intuition that it was only safe to go to Bainang City, and there was no need to take care of the villagers. He could walk faster. Uncle Yan, can I come with you? Luchuan couldn't stay in the cave with the villagers and wait to die. Lu Yan is the thickest thigh he can hold now. Lu Yan looked at the boy in front of him with a face full of rain, somewhat surprised, which was different from his memory of being silent. Let's go. Lu Yan is still agile with his wife on his back, and Luchuan and Lu Hu can run freely in the forest without following the villagers, accelerating their speed. A group of 4 ran in the forest for about 20 minutes and finally reached the top of the mountain. Lu Yan's energy was still abundant, while Luchuan and Lu Hu needed a little rest. On the mountaintop, Luchuan finally saw the red light rising from the sky in the north and the city not far away, which was also shining with red light. It should be Bainang City. There are many cultivators rising from the sky above Bainang City, carefully patrolling around it. He can see figures running around the city in the rainy night, gathering in the direction of Bainang City. Luchuan rubbed the sore muscles on his legs, thinking that with such a big formation, he was afraid that war was about to break out. Lu Yan, however, had a serious expression and kept staring at the way behind him. His sense of crisis still lingers in his heart, and he is not very confident that he can reach Baining City. Wuji. Come out and chat with me. A very arrogant voice sounded in the rainy night, and a purple figure flickered in the northern sky, raising its hand to annihilate the red signal in the sky. In response to him was a golden light, which almost broke the sky, and even the rainstorm in the nearby area was stopped. The purple figure flickered and dodged the knife light, and a cheap voice rang out again, "Damn it, it's so fierce, Wuji. You almost cut off a handsome hair on me. Yang Ming, if Jingguo wants war, then Wuguo will definitely not disappoint you." The man holding a golden knife stood up from the sky, facing his purple figure in the distance. What kind of war is not war? Let's talk about some easy topics. It's been several years now, and why are you still stuck in the realm of divine powers? I've told you that martial arts is unreliable, spiritual cultivation is. Yang Ming's voice abruptly stopped, and a high-level figure in Baining City intervened to stop the spread of the voice. The two in the distance started to fight again, and the golden figure of Wu Ji clearly had the upper hand, but the purple figure of Yang Ming seemed to be effortless. The immortal fight between the big shots had nothing to do with Luchuan and the others. After taking a break, the four of them resumed their journey in the rain, and the rain did not weaken at all. The road down the mountain was even more difficult than up. Be careful. Luchuan stumbled, but fortunately, Lu Hu helped him in time and did not fall. Thank you Huzi, I'm fine. Luchuan took a deep breath and looked enviously at Lu Yan ahead, who was much more agile than himself when carrying someone on his back. Lu Yan heard the commotion behind him and stopped. When the two of them followed, they encouraged the embarrassed young men, "Hold on, we'll be at the foot of the mountain soon. After leaving Tiger Roaring Mountain, we'll walk 7 miles to Baining City. We'll be safe when we reach Baining City." Luchuan was surprised in his heart. "Uncle Yan, we can't insert such flags indiscriminately." Suddenly, everyone's eyes lit up as they ran. The battle in the distance had not yet been decided, and many helpers appeared beside Wu Ji and Yang Ming. A large number of spell collisions produced huge light and earth shaking, illuminating the northern realm like daylight, and also causing Luchuan, who was rushing on the mountain, to collide with a tree beside him. "Huzi, take your mother and Chuanzi first." Lu Yan stopped and put down his wife, who was carrying a bow and arrow behind her. In a flash of light, he turned around and saw the black-clothed man on the mountain. The black-clothed man also saw the four of them through the light. Lu Yan lowered his body and pulled out an arrow, his eyes fixed firmly on a pitch-black forest. The arrow shone with lightning, and Lu Yan turned to drill towards the side of the forest, trying to distract the enemy behind him. Without hesitation, Lu Hu picked up his mother and ran away. There must be a reason why Lu Yan stayed, and when hunters encounter danger on the mountain, indecisiveness will only lead to the downfall of the entire army. But there is a big gap between him and his father, and his actions are clearly affected after carrying his mother on his back. His mother lay on his back and began to cry softly. The experience of this day made her, an ordinary village woman, feel a bit emotional breakdown. Her home was destroyed, and she fled in a miserable state on a rainy night. Her husband's life and death were hard to determine, while she became a burden on her son. Lu Hu ran silently, believing that Lu Yan would have a solution. Lu Yan was a cultivator who had already embarked on the path of cultivation, and also the strongest hunter in Lujia village. The mountains and forests were his home ground. Rather than worrying about his father's safety, what he needed to do was to bring his mother safely to Baining City. Luchuan also remained silent, regretting that his divination questions were not careful enough. When doing divination, he should have asked more clearly and figured out whether the enemy was chasing him. Perhaps it was his behavior of holding on to Lu Yan's thigh that dragged them down. A palpitating sensation suddenly appeared, and Luchuan didn't want to roll on his side. A crossbow arrow was nailed to his original position. Damn it, I can't leave. Huzi, let's go. Luchuan shouted and pulled out the hunting knife he was carrying with him. Go through his mother for no reason. I was chased and killed for no reason. I was caught in the rain for most of the night for no reason. This new world of bullshit is neither interesting nor concerned. Anyway, I have died once, and I will die again. Luchuan angrily threw his hunting knife at the man in black, creating an arc in the air and sinking into the pitch-black mountains and forests. The man in black looked expressionlessly at the incompetent and furious Luchuan, and raised his crossbow with another arrow. Luchuan instinctively wanted to dodge, but the crossbow and arrow stopped in front of Luchuan's chest, and a suddenly appearing man grabbed it. I'm almost dead, so I let my companions go first. I'm a bit kind and foolish, avoiding crossbows and arrows from behind. I have a good sense of crisis and reaction, but in the end, I threw the knife myself. Are you an idiot? End of this chapter. Chapter 3. One's Own People. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. One's Own People. Damn it, someone sprayed me. If Luchuan had a keyboard, he would surely awaken the soul of Xuan and immediately spray it back, and he could spray the feigned offender in front of him for half an hour without any heavy samples. However, at this moment, the crossbow was still resting on his chest, so he chose to shut up from the heart. The man suddenly appeared on a rainy night wearing a white suit with a satchel. The pouring rainstorm hit him within 1 meter of his body and somehow stopped. The man in black not far away just wanted to turn around and escape into the forest. The man in white just threw the arrow behind him, and the arrow pierced the man in black's heart. Isn't it sad for your companion to just leave you and run away? The man in white had already upgraded from a forced criminal to a forced king in Luchuan's mind. After casually taking care of the pursuers, he looked at Luchuan and asked. It's foolish to stay and die together. If you have to say something sad, it's better to feel unlucky. Luchuan couldn't grasp the temper of the big shot in front of him and cautiously replied. Are you unlucky? The forced king gave Luchuan an incredulous look. The rain is too heavy, this is not the place to talk. Come with me. This. Senior, there is my clan uncle not far behind me. Just now, in order to leave us with cover, I'm sorry to bother you. The man in white turned his head and said, the hunter is fine. He didn't have to be dragged down by you. The person chasing him has already solved it on his own. Let's go. Before he could speak, Luchuan's body floated out of control. He was caught by a man in white and drifted to Binaying City. The two men flew very fast, but the rainstorm in the sky could not get close to them. God Binaying City was in front of them. The city of Binaying has entered a state of martial law, with a long queue at the entrance, mostly of people fleeing from nearby villages and towns. The man in white and Luchuan drifted to a side door next to the main entrance, where there were also people guarding, but no one lined up. Binaying College, Haochi Sect, Huachanga. The man in white nodded slightly to the guard and handed out a waist tag. This is my junior brother. Luchuan didn't know how he became a junior brother, so he remained silent and followed Huachanga into Binaying City. The city of Binaying and the outside of the city are completely two worlds, and it is already late at night inside the city. A few shops are still lit, appearing somewhat quiet in the pitch-black night. The sound of rain and crying seems to be isolated from the tall city walls. No, why isn't there rain in the city? Luchuan looked up at the sky. The night sky in the city was brilliant with stars and rivers, but there was not a drop of rain. Divine magic, nightfall, in simple terms, is to change a fake starry sky in an area, block out the rain, and embellish the peaceful magic with flashy colors. Huachanga explained to Luchuan, making him a bit uncomfortable. Luchuan nodded to express his understanding. The city was a peaceful scene. No wonder Lu Yan had been saying that Baining City was safe, and he didn't know how Lu Hu and his team were doing or whether they had met with Lu Yan. Tonight, he heard the word divine power for the second time. The Wujian Jinbei Pass is the divine power realm. If the concepts of divine power spells and divine power realms are consistent, and the cultivators in the divine power realm can guard the level, it can be inferred that this realm should belong to the upper middle level of combat power. Let's go, I'll take you back to the sect first. Old Jiang and Aunt Li have both gone to Zhenbeiguan, only little sister is at home. Huachanga's expression became much more vivid after returning to Baining City, especially when mentioning the sect. By the way, what's your name? Luchuan. Luchuan felt a little uneasy in his heart. This forced king always stared at him when he had something to do, and he was not a normal person even when he was dressed in a naughty white shirt. He suddenly found himself on a rainy night and had to take him to his house. Damn it, he can't be that one, can he? If it weren't for the divination copper coins on the CD, Luchuan would definitely have calculated a divination for Huachanga's sexual orientation. If he were really a malicious person who started to take pleasure in his actions, it would be better for him to die on the Tiger Roar Mountain. He even regretted throwing his hunting knife on the mountain, and now even if he wanted to end it on his own, there was no one in his hands who could take advantage of it. Senior brother Hua, I'm a bit hungry. Luchuan thought more and more, and he didn't want to follow Huachanga directly to his territory. Oh, I forgot, you haven't entered the Tao yet. Huachanga was taken aback for a moment before realizing that Luchuan was still immortal. After entering the Tao, he rarely felt hungry and ate mostly for the sake of his appetite. This spot is probably only open in Dongleju. You can eat whatever you want there. The two of them entered a restaurant called Dongleju, where there were not many tables left. Huachanga still asked the shopkeeper for a private room. Waiter, go prepare a set of changing clothes for my junior brother. Huachanga pointed at Luchuan and said to the waiter in the shop. Luchuan's face is getting worse and worse. There must be something wrong with Huachanga. He has a private room and changed clothes. He is prepared to lean against the door or window when entering the room. If the situation is not right, he will smash the door and jump through the window, fearless and willing to leave his innocence in the world. Dongleju's movements were fast, and the food, drinks, and clothes requested by Huachanga were all quickly delivered into the private room. Huachanga closed the door of the private room and turned to pinch the key. Alright, the sound insulation technique has been arranged, we can have a good chat now. As soon as Luchuan took a bite of food into his mouth, his pupils trembled upon hearing the words and he coughed uncontrollably. What are you doing with such a big reaction? It's all your own people. Huachanga looked at Luchuan strangely and poured him a cup of tea. My own person. What do you mean? Luchuan dared not drink the tea poured by Huachanga, coughing and asking. Prosperity, democracy, civilization, harmony, freedom, equality, justice, and the rule of law. Huachanga also poured himself a cup of tea and raised his cup to Luchuan with a mysterious expression. Shit, there are already other travelers in this world. It's not a cover-up battle, but actually the master of mystery. The heavenly king covers the earth tiger. Luchuan threw out the classic code on the blue star. Bauta Town River Demon, stewed chicken with mushrooms, stir-fried sweet potatoes with black fungus, you can take whichever you like. If there are other secret codes, there will be odd and even changes, and the symbols will depend on the quadrant. After Huachanga finished answering, the private room fell into silence. Huachanga didn't know what he was thinking, while Luchuan was considering the possibility that Huachanga was also a traveler. Before returning to our sect, there are some things you must know first. There are 5 people in our sect, including you. Lao Jiang and Li Yi are both our own people, but junior sister is not. Wugua is a country that opposes and punishes the chosen ones with a clear stance in the world. We must maintain absolute confidentiality about our own identities in Wugua, and exposure is equivalent to GG. Do you understand? Huachanga's words contain a lot of information, and Luchuan keenly grasped the key words he didn't understand. What you just said was, the chosen person from heaven. The way this world refers to people like us, there used to be an idiot who thought he was invincible and filled the world with cups, shouting that he was the chosen one. However, he was caught and killed by the kingdom of Wu, which implicated a group of people. Huachanga looked angry. Are there many people like us? Luchuan felt that this world of cultivation must not be normal. There are only 4 travelers in a small sect of the kingdom of Wu, so how many in this whole world? Not many, a few hundred people, but there may be more and more, Huachanga replied casually, then said seriously, the precautions have not been explained yet. Not all travelers are their own people, and people's hearts are divided. Luchuan blinked in confusion, but how did you make sure that I was, my own person, brother? Huachanga seemed to understand Luchuan's inner voice and said, a guy like you who can put yourself to death on the mountain and let your companions go first, and even worry about the tribe in the first place after being saved, can't be so bad. Luchuan did not feel praised, and even felt that Huachanga was implying that he was a Virgin Mary. What I'm curious about is, what exactly is your cheating and how did it provoke Zhao Wuya? Zhao Wuya. Luchuan couldn't understand what Huachanga was saying. After coming to this world, he had been staying in Lujia village and had never seen anyone surnamed Zhao. Zhao Wuya, the top expert in Jingwa, may also be the strongest extraordinary expert in the world at present. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. First Generation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 First Generation. Upon hearing the 4 words, the strongest in the world, Luchuan instantly understood many things. The people of Jingwa suddenly attacked Lu Jiatsuan, and the people in black pursued him relentlessly. This unfounded disaster was just because he had a humble hand and divined whether the world's strongest expert was a man or a woman. He received too many shocking news that night, which made his scalp tingle. He didn't care if the tea was poisonous for a moment, so he quickly took a sip of tea to suppress his shock. Shit, Luchuan paused for a while before softly cursing. I offended the strongest leader right from the beginning, who can withstand it? The new world taught him a lesson in the most direct way possible, and there is no such simple world for cultivation. A frown from a top-level powerhouse landed on a rookie like him like a mountain. After calming down, Luchuan thought back for a moment. What Huachanga asked earlier was, what is your hang? Does it mean that all the travelers carried golden fingers? Did you think of it? Mr. Zhao had a big temper. It said that he was breaking through the seclusion when you interrupted him. He sensed that it was the hand of Wu Guo, and thought it was old Jiang who was causing him trouble. Huachanga saw the change in Luchuan's expression and guessed that this young man must have unconsciously manipulated Zhao Wuya. A newborn calf is not afraid of tigers. But in my opinion, Mr. Zhao's temper must not have been interrupted due to his seclusion. Maybe when he's having sex, you kid. Luchuan recalled that his divination was indeed in the middle of the night, and his sense of unease increased again. But he still grasped the key point and asked, how did you know that he got angry in Jingwa? Let's use WeChat. Old Jiang replied in the morning that it wasn't him who did it. In the evening, Mr. Zhao took action and sent a small team of private soldiers to greet you, and then sent someone to come to Zhenbei Pass to warn Wu Guo. Huachanga took out a jade stone resembling a mobile phone from his arms and shook it. But Mr. Zhao probably didn't expect you to be so weak that you almost got slaughtered. Luchuan, an old man, doesn't know where to start. Is it reasonable for you guys to engage in mobile internet in the Shuzhen world? What else is Mr. Zhao? With strong strength, he can do whatever he wants and easily launch a national war to attack people. Isn't Zhao Wuya his own person? His greeting has killed many innocent people. So as I just said, not all travelers are their own people. Extraordinary strength and supreme authority can easily change a person, and maybe one day you will too. I'm not dead now, will he continue to take action? Luchuan asked with a bitter smile. Don't worry, Lao Jiang will handle it. Your act of killing is just an excuse, and it's not a matter of a day or two for Jingwa to want to eat the northern border of Wugua. The war that should be fought will always be fought. Huachanga took a bite of food for Luchuan and said, try this. The authentic dragon meat is definitely not available on the Blue Star. The dragon meat was a bit hard, and after eating it, Luchuan trembled. A hot breath surged out of his body, dispelling the chill soaked in the rain. So can we talk about it? Why did you provoke Xiao Wuya? Huachanga took out his phone and pressed it, as if sending a message. I didn't want to provoke Xiao Wuya. The person I chose at that time was the person with the highest cultivation in the world. Nyobi. The clothes found by Dongleju fit well, and Luchuan changed into a new outfit in the private room. When he returned to the private room, he saw Huachanga typing with a jade phone, which still felt a bit rusty. Just now you said that your background in this world is an orphan. Huachanga's expression was somewhat solemn, as if he was very concerned about this issue. Well, orphans. Are your parents dead or abandoned? Do you know your parents' names? Do you still remember them? My father's name should be Lu Changsheng, and my mother's name, Lu Linsher, is not clear. They should have all died of illness. There is nothing to hide from this question, Luchuan answered truthfully. Suspected to be the first generation, Huachanga whispered a few words and lowered his head to quickly type and send messages. Senior brother Hua, let's call Lao Hua privately. Whether the sect can accept you or not depends on whether Lao Jiang comes back to see his intentions. I don't mind if I say so. But tonight, you should come with me and take you back to live for 2 days. It should be okay. Even if Lao Jiang doesn't keep you, he will still send you to a safe place for his own people. Okay Hua, I just wanted to ask, what am I going to do next? Luchuan had already believed that Huachanga was his own person, but the two were not close relatives. At best, he could consider himself a poor relative who sought refuge with a fellow villager from Blue Star. It would be better to have some insight. Huachanga saved his life and entertained him with delicious food and drink. The old ginger in the other party's mouth was still outside to help him resolve the trouble he caused to the world's #1 person yesterday. So what can he repay? There is no love for no reason in the world, no matter which world it is. What education, major, and job have you had at Blue Star? Luchuan looked at Huachanga without looking up, and suddenly felt a sense of starting an interview but encountering a tricky examiner. I graduated with a bachelor's degree in business administration and worked as a product manager for 2 years after graduation. As the product manager, I was responsible for the life cycle of 2 products from 0 to 1. Stop and stop, you don't know any skills, do you? The cruel interviewer Huachanga released one hand and called off Luchuan's self-introduction. So it seems that you can only practice. Are you sure that all the parents in this world passed away due to illness? Huachanga asked about Luchuan's parents again with a very serious expression. I cannot fully confirm. Is this question important? If so, I will find a way to confirm as soon as possible. The visual experience of the interview has increased. I don't know this skill, but I can learn it. My abilities are flawed, and my attitude is very upright. Very important. Huachanga nodded. If your parents passed away due to illness, then it is most likely an ordinary person. You are the first generation, indicating that the channel has opened again. We need to prepare early. Don't think so much, the big shots will handle this matter. It's not your business. Let's eat first. After finishing, I'll take you back to rest. Old Jiang should be back tomorrow morning. Luchuan obediently lowered his head to eat rice, silently memorizing unfamiliar words such as first generation and passage in his heart. From Huachanga's words, he can infer that if his parents were not ordinary people but travelers, he would be a second generation or descendant, and it is unclear what difference it would be compared to the first generation. By the way, your cheating is your personal secret. If you don't want to say it, you can choose not to, but I still advise you not to do it again in the future. Luchuan quickly nodded, knowing that he would be even more cautious before he had a full understanding of the world. You have only graduated for 2 years, and you should have played games when you were in school, right? I have something to ask you about. These years have been holding me back so much. Huachanga suddenly leaned over mysteriously and asked. Did the Godfather win the championship later? Did Wei Shinskin choose Jiaoyue or Ruiwen? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Sect. Luchuan looked at Huachanga, who was full of anticipation in front of him, and couldn't bear to tell him that his godfather and Gao Dui were both very miserable that year. Not only did they not advance in the group stage, but they also shot themselves in the opposite direction to survive in the Jedi. When this guy was strolling on a rainy night in a provocative white shirt, he thought he was a pushover, but I didn't expect you to be such a Huachanga. Luchuan seized some key information from this issue. Huachanga knew that Wei Shinskin chose Jiaoyue or Ruiwen's speech, but he was unaware of the results of the global finals, indicating that he came to this world in October of 2015. In addition, based on the level of information exchange among the world travelers, Huachanga still does not know the result of the S5 global finals, which indicates that it is likely that no one has traveled to this world since October 2015. If this speculation is true, then what happens between 15 and 21 years may become one's information advantage in this world, and it will be exclusive news until new travelers arrive and are discovered. That year my godfather didn't make it to the final group stage. Huachanga paused while pouring tea for Luchuan and said, Don't be joking, brother. Wei Shen and Taobao Quan Zhongye, Imp and Pinji Ling are on the way. How could they not qualify for the group stage? Luchuan couldn't explain to him the tragic stories of 3 iron men, 1 hot man steelmaking, and 1 hammer and 1 skateboard shoe. He cleverly changed the topic and said, later on, LPL stood up, S8IG won the first championship, and S9 and S11 were both our champions. EDG had just won the championship not long before I came over. Damn it, Ming Kai has already won the championship. That's not a big deal, Ming Kai didn't go. When the EDG team won the championship, only Miko was still there. General Pang and Tong Woody had already retired, and Mr. Dai returned to LCK. The only player is probably Saint Gun, the one from the Snake team who went on a single. Huachanga fell into silence, drank a cup of tea, filled it up, and then drank another cup. A few years can change many things, and past events quickly become stories and history. Unfortunately, if we meet at Blue Star, we should go to an internet cafe after dinner and stay up all night to show our buddy's strength. I used to be the 6th assassin, Hasaki. Huachanga's face calmed down and he refilled his cup with tea. He raised his glass and gestured to Luchuan to clink it. Luchuan quickly picked up his teacups, and the 2 cups lightly touched each other in the air, making a ding sound. Perhaps it was a common hobby that brought the relationship closer, and it was only at this moment that he realized that the guy across from him was a real fellow villager, his own person. Huagu, didn't you say you wanted to take me back to the sect? Luchuan followed Huachanga as he walked in the alleyway of Bainang City, but couldn't resist speaking. At this point, there were no more people on the street, and the surrounding environment didn't look like there were sects, but rather like a residential area. Here you are, keep your voice down and don't speak. Huachanga stopped in front of a courtyard door, pressed his ear to the door, and listened for the commotion inside. Luchuan couldn't understand his operation at all, and his appearance as a thief didn't seem like a good person at all. Let's go. Just as Luchuan was about to step up, Huachanga grabbed him and flew up, flipping into the yard. Luchuan, who was still in shock, had not figured out the situation, but he noticed that Huachanga, who was holding onto his shoulder, was frozen in place. A very beautiful girl stood expressionless in the yard, watching Huachanga climb over the wall. Lao Hua, you don't go home at night. The girl's clear voice was very pleasant, but Luchuan felt that Huachanga was a bit nervous. And shouldn't this girl call him Hua senior brother? She actually called him Lao Hua. Hey buddy, isn't this your junior sister? What are you nervous about, isn't it? But this girl is obviously not yet of age, Lao Hua. Are you too cruel? Momo, listen to my explanation. It was my master who asked me to save him. The girl didn't even wait for Huachanga to finish speaking before turning around and heading towards the backyard. Luchuan secretly licked her tongue in his heart, feeling that she was a difficult girl to get along with. Is this the little junior sister you mentioned, Brother Hua? Luchuan asked softly when the girl's figure disappeared. Well, Jiang Mo, the daughter of old Jiang and Aunt Li, isn't she very cute when I see her grow up? Huachanga's tone was slightly boastful. Cute and adorable, it's getting worse and worse for you. This topic cannot be further discussed. Luchuan looked around the courtyard and changed the topic, saying, our sect is a bit unique, isn't it? There are only 4 people in total, and it's already nice to have such a courtyard. I bought it with a loan from old Jiang 2 years ago, but now I still have a mortgage on my back. When I first arrived earlier, old Jiang and Aunt Li were still living in the staff dormitory of the college. Huachanga understood what Luchuan meant and rolled his eyes. It's not easy to buy a house in any world, right? Let's take you to the guest room. Old Jiang just messaged me and the matter has been resolved. He will be back early tomorrow morning. Huachanga took Luchuan to the guest room, which was very clean, with new beds and bedding, much better than what Luchuan had lived in the village himself. Rest early, buddy. Let's withdraw first. Huachanga stretched lazily and prepared to go back to his room to rest. A complex feeling surged in Luchuan's heart, with both the kindness of saving lives and the touching feeling of encountering old friends in a foreign land. He didn't know what to do with Huachanga's old Jiang when he came back tomorrow. At this moment, he just wanted to repay this kindness one day. Thank you, Brother Hua, for saving me today. Huachanga quickly turned around and waved his hand. Damn it, don't be so awkward. Everyone is from China, so it's up to you to handle things. By the way, do you remember I told you that junior sister is not your own business? Huachanga's face suddenly changed and he whispered, don't expose it. After Luchuan solemnly agreed, Huachanga left the guest room. As soon as Luchuan sat on the bed, a feeling of exhaustion filled his whole body. But he can't rest immediately. He has collected a lot of information today and hasn't summarized it properly. He doesn't have a computer around him yet, so he can only rely on his brain to organize his memory. Lao Jiang and Li Yi are a married couple, both of whom are travelers. A few years ago, they lived in the staff dormitory, and Huachanga reported the name of Bainaing College in the city. It can be inferred that the two are employees of Bainaing College. The two of them went to Zhenbaiguan and even had the qualifications to resolve the misunderstanding between him and Zhao Wuya. Their strength was likely the first tier, but they felt it was not quite right to work as employees at Bainaing College. In addition, Huachanga said that Wu Guo rejected the information of the interlopers. Perhaps their true identities were spies or agents. Huachanga is a quite kind person. Despite the filters of the League of Legends and the life-saving benefactor, he is also a very easy-going person. His strength is not yet clear, and from his words, it can be felt that he is quite confident in himself. There is also Jiang Mo, a 13.15-year-old girl who looks difficult to get along with. However, she stays up in the yard for most of the night and is likely waiting for Huachanga and her parents to come back. Huachanga attaches great importance to Jiang Mo, and her parents should also dote on her, so she should be the least likable person in this small group. The realm of divine powers can shake the earth and change the world. Being extraordinary is even more powerful than divine powers, and the level of combat power in this world should be quite high. However, even the most powerful people cannot think of me in a moment, which indicates that strength is also limited. In terms of top-level combat power, it should be stronger than Zhu Xian, probably not as strong as Zhi Tian, and may be on par with Jiang Yi. There are also the first generation and channels, but I don't know what they mean yet. After tomorrow's copper coin CD is ready, I must make good use of it in a daze. Luchuan fell into a dreamland in a daze. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. The Role of the Golden Finger. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. The Role of the Golden Finger. When Luchuan opened his eyes again, the sky was already completely bright. After being rained for so long yesterday without catching a cold, I can't help but marvel at the strength of this body after crossing the river. Luchuan put on his clothes and pushed open the door. After a few steps, he saw Huachanga leaning against a pillar, holding a steamed bun and gnawing on it, while watching a middle-aged man and Jiang practicing Tai Chi in the front yard. Good morning, Huachanga noticed him and said hello. The two people who heard the commotion in the courtyard stopped and gestured. Jiang glanced at Luchuan and turned around before leaving. The middle-aged man also closed his fist and stood still, turning around to look at Luchuan. Damn it, handsome uncle, is this Wu Yanzu? Wearing a strong outfit that accentuated his robust figure, coupled with handsome features and sharp eyes, his face remained expressionless and intimidating, making him a serious and handsome old man. Luchuan let out a deep sigh in his heart. People who have traveled to this world can be called a chosen person just by their faces. With the three people he currently knows, himself, Huachanga, and the uncle's surname Jiang in front of him, they are all handsome. Hello, Uncle Jiang. Luchuan instinctively stood up straight. I heard Xiaohua say, have you ever studied in college, undergraduate? Uncle Jiang stared at Luchuan, making him feel a bit uncomfortable. Is it true that after yesterday's HR interview, there will be a CEO meeting today? Yes, Uncle Jiang, from Jiangsu Zhejiang University of Business and Technology, majoring in business administration, has graduated for 2 years. Uncle Jiang walked towards Luchuan and kicked Huachanga as he passed by. Huachanga immediately stood up straight. Not bad. Have you joined the party? Uncle Jiang walked up to Luchuan and asked seriously. Yes, I joined the Communist Party in college. So, welcome, Comrade Xiaolu. Uncle Jiang extended his right hand to Luchuan. Ah! Luchuan was stunned. Is the CEO's interview so hasty that it ended in just a few words? I can't figure out what kind of person you are through just one meeting, so I'm willing to trust the organization's judgment. My name is Jiang Tao, and you can call me Lao Jiang, just like Xiaohua. Jiang Tao shook his outstretched hand and said again, welcome, Comrade Xiaolu. Thank you, Comrade Lao Jiang. Luchuan quickly reached out his hand and shook hands with Lao Jiang. As Luchuan stepped towards the threshold of the main courtyard room, he saw a rather casual plaque with the 3 words, Haoqi Sect, written on it. This room was probably the true Sect gate. Luchuan's first encounter with Li Yi, as mentioned by Huachanga, further confirmed his own judgment. The travelers were indeed unique in appearance, and Li Yi was like a female celebrity wearing casual clothes. Luchuan couldn't even shout out the word Yi. Aunt Li's name is Li Qian. When she entered the house, she brought breakfast for Luchuan and then sat next to him to chat about her family life. She asked where Luchuan was from, whether she had talked about her girlfriend, whether she had adapted to this new world, and whether she had suffered a lot. Cough, let's talk about the main business first. There's still something to do in the college later. Old Jiang couldn't help but interrupt Li Qian's casual conversation. The woman asked Jay Cho if he had released any new songs in recent years and even asked Luchuan to sing a few confession balloons to listen to. Why, what you're talking about is business, and what I'm talking about with Xiaolu is nothing else. Li Qian choked old Jiang, but also stopped talking. Lao Jiang didn't take over and looked at Luchuan, saying, Xiao Lu, let's first talk about the arrangements for you next. This should be what you are most concerned about. Lao Jiang's speech really resembled the leaders in the company. Luchuan instinctively sat up straight, moved his right hand, and wanted to find a notebook to take notes, only to realize that he didn't have a notebook at hand. As you can see, our sect is called the Haoqi sect. In the kingdom of Wu, it is just a small and unremarkable sect, and with you, there are only 5 people in total. Outside the sect, Qianshan, Xiaohua, and I are all teachers from Beinang University. In the future, you will be my newly recruited disciple outside, and Xiaohua will be your senior brother. At home, you won't be so particular, just call me casually. I will take you to the college later. Remember to hide your secrets in the college. After spending some time in the college, wait until you have a certain level of strength and a better understanding of the world, and then choose your own path for the future. Luchuan was originally planning to kowtow and apprentice, but old Jiang didn't seem to really want to take him as his disciple. Thank you, Uncle Jiang. Luchuan quickly thanked him, saying that taking him in should be a very risky thing. The few fellow villagers he met in this world all brought him warmth. To be honest, my impression of you is not very good. Although Lao Zhao has parted ways with us, he should not be an unreasonable person. After expressing gratitude, Lao Zhang's expression became even more serious. Zhao Crow is not a good thing. At an old age, he still opens an harem in Jinghua, which is disgusting. Li Qian choked on old Jiang again. Qianshan, let's get down to business first. Xiaolu, you haven't practiced before, so you must have been able to provoke Lao Zhao because of your special abilities. You young people seem to call it, hanging. Old Jiang turned to look at Huachanga, who nodded repeatedly. So I need to know exactly how you did it, and I need to confirm that there will be no more accidents like this. Definitely not, this time it was really a misunderstanding. Luchuan quickly nodded and agreed, then briefly introduced himself to the 3 people in the room about his cheats, and that night, he used cheap hands to divine whether the world's top expert was a man or a woman. He can understand Lao Zhang's requirements, and according to Lao Zhang's arrangement, he will continue to live with everyone in Wugua for a period of time, and no one wants to have a time bomb around him. Is it the best in the world? That's not necessarily true. Jiang Tao heard Luchuan's explanation and fell into contemplation. If everything Luchuan said is true, then it was indeed an accident to provoke Zhao Wuya this time. He is very interested in the description of the golden finger by Luchuan, which is very special and useful. Since you took the initiative to say it, Xiaolu, I won't hide anything. My special ability is the demon breaking hand, which can break through all spells when used. Lao Zhang's cheats integrate offense and defense, making him invincible when he gets close. Basically, he punches one punch at a time, Huachanga added. My cheats are also combat-oriented. Have you watched Dragon Clan, Principal Anger? Time is 0, and the flow of time around me will slow down, so I am not affected. By the way, Luchuan, after so many years, has the old thief finished writing about the Dragon Clan? Did the painting of pear clothes come back to life later? Luchuan was amazed in his heart. He could probably imagine Lao Jiang breaking the demon, while Huachanga's time 0 was something he had seen with his own eyes last night. Even raindrops couldn't get close to him, so no wonder he suddenly appeared and grabbed the flying crossbow to show off. I haven't finished writing it yet, and most of the following content is not accepted by readers, who have been scolded quite harshly. Luchuan answered Huachanga's question. This lucky old Hua, after watching Dragon 3, crossed over, and it's better not to read Dragon 4 and Dragon 5. My hang is a control system that forcibly controls a target, neither I nor the target can move. Li Qian also briefly introduced her golden finger, and Luchuan immediately imagined the scene of her cooperating with Lao Jiang, one person controlling and one person killing in seconds, which was too fierce. Xiaolu, are you still useless today? Li Qian stared at Luchuan with a smile. Do me a favor, I want to know if Jiang Tao has ever liked a woman named Wu Lihua. The atmosphere in the room suddenly froze, and Luchuan instinctively looked up at Lao Jiang and Huachanga. I saw Huachanga obediently sticking to the chair, as if I hadn't heard anything happening. He held his jade phone with both hands devoutly, his expression focused as if he was looking at a color chart. Cough, my class is about to start. Xiaolu will follow me and I will take you to apply for admission. Old Jiang stood up with a serious expression and walked out quickly. I also have classes. Goodbye, Shenyang. Huachanga's voice only reached his ear, and he was nowhere to be seen. Luchuan suspected that this cargo had run away in time. Humph. A scumbag with a ghost in his heart. Xiaolu, don't run away, we all have to go to the college. Luchuan looked at his teacher's mother gritting her teeth and felt a hint of unease in his heart. The function of my broken golden fingers is not to catch traitors, is it? End of this chapter. Chapter 7. You are selected by heaven. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. You are selected by heaven. On the banks of the Seine River, coffee on the left bank, I hold a cup and taste your beauty, leaving a lip print on my mouth. Li Qian listened to the melody of the confession shot put and frowned, asking Luchuan, are you really singing like that? Luchuan nodded helplessly. He did not agree to Li Qian's fortune-telling request, so he had to sing the new song of Jie Cho that Li Qian wanted to hear to her. Of course, his singing level is just that, and there is a slight difference of billions compared to Jie Cho. Mother, junior brother singing is so unpleasant. Jiang Mo looked at Luchuan disdainfully, almost covering her ears. It's rude to call him the second elder martial brother. Li Qian patted Jiang Mo's head, and the mother and daughter stood together like sisters. Why, even though I was born in a sect, I should have been the eldest senior sister. Lao Hua, call senior sister quickly. Jiang Mo condensed a piece of broken ice in her hand and flew out towards Huachanga, who was walking ahead. Little broken ice was caught by Huachanga without any suspense, and the next second he appeared in front of Jiang Mo, placing the ice cubes on her head. Ah! You're cheating with this trick again. Dad, teach me how to do it, I'll definitely not cause trouble after I learn it. Jiang Mo angrily threw away the ice on her head and ran up to grab Jiang Tao's arm to act coquettishly. The secret technique of the school is passed down from male to female. Little junior sister, don't worry about it, Huachanga shouted with a thud, earning Jiang Mo a face. Luchuan watched with great interest, and Jiang Mo was truly the second generation of cultivators in the city. At such a young age, he could already unleash his spells. In contrast, the mountain village cultivator Lu Hu, whom Luchuan knew, was 2 years older than Jiang Mo and still an ordinary person jumping up and down in the mountains and forests. The streets of Bainang City are still bustling, seemingly unaffected by the Jingwa Pass. The crowds are bustling, and the streets are lined with vendors selling goods. The relationship between Lao Jiang and Li Yi should have gone through some issues. Li Qian's fortune-telling request may seem like a joke, but Luchuan also observed some unusual details. No matter what Lao Jiang said, Aunt Li would choke on his voice, and the two of them had no private communication. When they were in the same room, they would sit far apart, and walking on the road, they would also walk in front of each other and behind each other. Lao Hua may have some insider information, so if there is a chance, he should inquire with him to avoid accidentally stepping on lightning. Bainang College is a place where everyone goes to work and school. The house bought by Lao Jiang is very close to the college. A few people walked there and soon arrived at the entrance of the college. Before coming, Luchuan had many speculations about the academy. He wondered if it would be like the academy in the city, the Castle Academy of the Dragon Clan, or Hogwarts. In my eyes, Bainang University is a city within a city, surrounded by a tall city wall. There are many corner towers around the wall, each with guards standing on it. The spire of the corner towers emits a beam of light, which gathers at the high tower in the center of the university, forming a magic formation. The main entrance of the college is closed, and the group needs to enter through the side door not far from the main entrance. After seeing old Jiang, the guard at the side entrance saluted respectfully and claimed to be Dean Jiang. He was very familiar with old Jiang's family and only glanced at Luchuan, whom he had never seen before allowing him to pass without saying anything. After entering the college, upon entering the eye was a dark stone tablet engraved with the words, "Cultivate for the rise of the martial kingdom." The inscription was unsigned, making Luchuan's eyes skip a beat. The group separated as they entered the college. Liqian and Jiang Mo were spiritual cultivators, while Lao Jiang and Lao Hua were martial cultivators. Naturally, Luchuan followed Lao Jiang and listened to Lao Hua introduce the various buildings in the college along the way. The central tower of the college is the core of the college, which is an enlarged version of the spirit gathering array used to gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. The entrance they just entered is the south gate of the college, which is close to the urban area of Baineng City. The south area inside the gate is also the living area of the college, with the dormitory area, cultivation area, and trading area all located near the south gate. Baineng College is a spiritual cultivation college, which is divided into Spiritual Cultivation College and Martial Cultivation College. The Spiritual Cultivation College is located in the East District, and the Martial Cultivation College is located in the West District. Lao Jiang is the Dean of the Martial Cultivation College. The northern district of the college is almost adjacent to the north gate of Baineng City, and is called the training or combat area in the college. The original intention of its establishment was that during a war, the teachers and students of Baineng College would come out from the north gate and go straight to the city tower to guard Baineng. Lao Hua has already graduated and is now a teacher at the Martial Arts Academy. He has his own class to attend. Before parting ways, he mysteriously hugged Luchuan's shoulder and whispered 3 words in his ear, "Master of Selection." Then he walked away with a frown and eyes, leaving Luchuan to follow old Jiang to apply for admission. Lao Jiang should have a great reputation in the college, with people greeting him wherever he goes. Luchuan also saw many people turning their heads and leaving as soon as he saw Lao Jiang. Perhaps this reputation is also likely to be notorious. The admission procedures are not complicated. Baineng College is a master-apprentice system, and since Luchuan has already joined the Haoqi sect and studied under Jiang Tao and Liqian, there is naturally no problem. After completing the procedures, Luchuan received a small jade plaque, but the person who handled the registration kept staring at him, which made him a bit uncomfortable. After leaving the archives, the two of them also went to the warehouse. I don't know why, but along the way, Luchuan noticed many people looking at him. Some even dared to come forward and greet Lao Jiang, but their eyes kept stealing at him. "They are staring at you to know who you are," Lao Jiang said as he walked into his office. "Qian and I have only had one disciple, Xiaohua, for so many years, and he is very outstanding. He can even be said to be the most outstanding student of Baineng University in the past few decades. With him Zhuyu in front, many people have wanted to come to our sect to pay their respects in recent years, and there are also many good seedlings inside. However, we have all refused, so everyone will be very curious and looking forward to you after knowing that you are a disciple of our Haoqi sect, but I still know nothing about cultivation, and my hanging seems to be of little use in combat." Luchuan lacks confidence. He feels a bit like Lu Mingfei who walked into Castle College. Although he doesn't have anything special about himself, others have already reached an S.level expectation of him. Don't worry too much. Old Jiang opened his chair and sat down, pointing to the opposite side to signal that Luchuan also sat down. "You are selected by heaven." Lao Jiang did not immediately teach the cultivation techniques to Luchuan. He will have more classes later, but he just briefly educated him on the basic concepts of cultivation in this world. Yuanqi is the fundamental unit of cultivation in this world, and whether it is martial arts or spiritual cultivation, the only difference is the application of yuanqi. Practitioners can communicate and exchange with their spiritual energy, absorb the energy between heaven and earth for their own use, and then embark on the path of cultivation. When their spiritual energy can be stored in their own sea of qi and dantian, it is time to enter the Tao. In the process of continuous cultivation, the qi si dantian will gradually be filled with elemental energy, gradually spreading to the body, meridians, and orifices. The interaction between practitioners and elemental energy is also increasing, and they can use various methods to release elemental energy, which is for spirituality. When practitioners summarize the rules of using vitality, form their own understanding and path, and are able to combine their will with the vitality of heaven and earth to activate spells, it is Rui. Huachanga is now in this realm. Following that, Luchuan has heard many times about the divine realm in the past few days. When the practitioner has completely walked out of their path, fundamentally mastered the laws of the movement of heaven and earth's elemental energy, and formed a unique technique, it becomes a divine realm. Yang Ming and Wu Ji, as well as Lao Jiang and Li Qian, who fought fiercely at Jinbei Pass that day, were all powerful beings in the realm of divine powers. The extraordinary realm above divine powers has not yet been reached by Lao Jiang himself, and he doesn't know how to describe it. However, there is an unwritten statement that if a practitioner can simultaneously confront 5 divine cultivators, or easily kill them one. On point 1, it is considered extraordinary, and the path of transcendence has not yet reached its end. My class is about to start. This is the elemental stone for cultivation. You can take it and familiarize yourself with the elemental energy, which is much more direct than directly understanding the elemental energy between heaven and earth. Old Jiang took out a fist-sized and crystal-clear jade from somewhere and placed it on the table. It's best not to leave this room. After speaking, he left the office, leaving Luchuan staring at Yuan Shi on the table in a daze. How should I play with this thing? Old Jiang, you didn't teach me just now. I'll just do it myself, won't I go crazy? Luchuan carefully picked up the yuan stone, which was cool and comfortable. He didn't react even when he touched it. It was so big that he definitely didn't bite it in his mouth. He remembered what Lao Jiang had said about induction and communication in his introduction, and also recalled the online articles he had read. For this type of spiritual stone used for cultivation, it seemed like he could just absorb it directly. So he tried to hold the yuan stone and closed his eyes, but soon his hanging came out, and he saw the copper coins slowly spinning in his mind. Luchuan sat with his eyes closed for a moment, nothing happened, and the yuan stone in his hand remained cold and unchanged. It seems that one needs to practice martial arts and other skills to absorb it, Luchuan thought to himself. He picked up the elemental stone in his hand and prepared to put it back on the table, waiting for old Jiang to come back before discussing it. Just as Luchuan was moving up with the yuan stone, he saw that the copper coins in his mind seemed to rotate faster. Luchuan held the yuanshi in both hands and began to move, closing his eyes to observe the copper coins in his mind. After testing, he soon found that the closer the yuanshi was to his head, the faster the copper coins would rotate. He felt a call, as the copper coins spun rapidly, as if expressing a longing. Luchuan pressed the cold yuan stone onto his forehead, and the copper coin jumped happily. A light ball rushed into Luchuan's mind from his forehead, then scattered into a little starry light. Is this what Lao Jiang called vitality? It's a bit cool. A large amount of starlight was attracted by the copper coins, absorbed onto them, and a small part fell off, drifting down his body in small dots and finally gathering in his lower abdomen. Luchuan felt that his body had undergone some changes, and with a thought, his vision shifted beyond his body. So he saw the faint dots of light floating in the air, which were countless times thinner than those that had just flooded into his body. At the same time, he also saw a huge pillar of light in the distance, and soon he realized that it was the high tower in the center of the college. He closed his eyes and extended his left hand to touch a larger light spot floating in the air. With a gentle touch, the light spot shattered into smaller parts and scattered, while one of them swam into his body along his fingers, slowly floating towards his lower abdomen and converging with the other starlight. Luchuan remembered the basic knowledge of cultivation that Lao Jiang had just taught him, and suddenly opened his eyes. He has entered the path. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Utopia. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Utopia, Did You Enter the Realm? Old Jiang returned to the office after finishing a class, thinking he had traveled again. Luchuan lowered his head and dared not look at Lao Jiang. The cracked yuan stone was placed on Lao Jiang's desk, and the corner of his eye could see Lao Jiang's hands trembling slightly, feeling that Lao Jiang was also about to crack open. Well, I'm sorry, Lao Jiang. I broke the thing you lent me, and I will definitely compensate you in the future. Luchuan quickly admitted his mistake. What's all this nonsense? You're also my disciple, it's just a yuan stone. What should I compensate for? Old Jiang looked at the cracked yuan stone on the table, his heart dripping with blood. Half a month's salary, just got it from the warehouse. You little brat ate it in 2 hours. I put it on the table for you to see, but I didn't teach you how to use it. Have you ever learned cultivation techniques in Luchuan village? After feeling heartbroken, old Jiang began to pay attention to more serious matters. 2 hours ago, Luchuan was still an ordinary person, and after finishing a class, he entered the path. Whether it's 2 hours of entering the path or 2 hours of drying a yuan stone, both are unheard of by Jiang Tao, and he can't distinguish which one is more outrageous for a moment. The average person gradually comprehends the qi mechanism from the beginning of cultivation until their elemental energy enters the body and enters the Tao realm, which takes at least 1 or 2 weeks. Zhao Wuya, the fastest genius known to Jiang Tao, also took more than a day to cultivate. As for this fist-sized elemental stone, Jiang Tao can sustain it for 3 to 5 days even if he uses it for cultivation. This kid only used 2 hours. I haven't learned it before. Actually, I don't know how to practice martial arts yet, but I can absorb elemental energy now, you see. Luchuan closed his eyes and reached out to grab a few more light points. He watched as the elemental energy gradually flowed into his sea of qi and dantian, and then he opened his eyes. First generation. Old Jiang felt as he sat back in his seat and picked up the cracked yuan stone to carefully observe. It was this word again, and after Lao Jiang sat down, he didn't speak anymore, which made Luchuan feel a bit uneasy. Jiang Tao observed for a while, and there was indeed no vitality left in the cracked yuan stone. He looked up at Luchuan, his eyes somewhat complicated. It is normal for such a rumor that no one believes to happen to the chosen person. When you enter the Tao, remember to hide it when you go back. I will tell Qianshan and Xiaohua not to be discovered by Momo. Okay, Luchuan also breathed a sigh of relief, Yuan sure. If I said you don't have to compensate, then you don't have to compensate. It's just a yuan stone, Lao Jiang interrupted Luchuan. If you really feel guilty, I happen to have something to trouble you with. Luchuan quickly understood that a small vegetable chicken could be a big help, it must be related to his cheating. I understand. Next time Aunt Li asks about that, I will answer that she has never liked it before. There was never such a thing before. Old Jiang rubbed and crushed the cracked yuan stone, startling Luchuan. Bad, bad, Lao Jiang became angry with embarrassment. I don't want to trouble you about this. If your special abilities are really as magical as you said, could you help me calculate if Yi Haran is still alive? Luchuan, who knew how to make a mistake, closed his eyes awkwardly. After a while, he reluctantly opened his eyes again. Uncle Jiang, can you provide some more accurate information? There are a lot of people with the same name, so I can't figure it out, he said. Upon hearing this, Jiang Tao believed it a third more and said that fortune-telling is not so convenient. Don't just calculate your birth date and 8 characters casually. Yi Haoren, from Shilin County, Wugua, was born in the 234th year of the Tianwu calendar in Wugua. Are these enough? This is the first time that Luchuan has seen copper coins parked on the side, but this should not be the answer that Lao Jiang wants. Sorry, Uncle Jiang, he's no longer here. Your special ability should also be carefully kept confidential in the future. In life, everyone has secrets, and it is inevitable that there are some things they want to know, and secrets often come with risks. Old Jiang slowly calmed his emotions and instructed Luchuan. But if your feature were in Utopia, it would probably be very popular. Utopia. The Republic. Yes, the Republic, a country established by travelers, our stronghold. Lao Jiang's mood improved when he mentioned Utopia. By the way, since you have already entered the realm, I'll give you this for now. My backup machine. Someone from the headquarters will bring you some gifts in a while. You should use this one before that. It's been many years since there were any new people here, and everyone is very interested in your mobile phone. Luchuan watched as Lao Jiang pulled out a jade card, which was obviously the same style as the phone that Huachanga often played with. Old Jiang handed the mobile phone to Luchuan, who was excited. It was the first time to see him show such an expression, which was exactly the same as when Huachanga first got his mobile phone. Inject vitality and you can start up. You probably don't know how to use vitality yet. I'll help you first. Before he could finish speaking, the jade plaque in Luchuan's hand had already lit up and began to skillfully click and move on the screen. Ah, I'm sorry, Uncle Jiang. You say, I'm listening, Luchuan said with embarrassment, but his eyes were still fixed on the jade screen that lit up in his hand. Wow. The calendar and clock finally know the time of each day. System settings, this is temporarily unavailable. Let's talk about it later. Calculators and compasses, details, and basic functions may be useful at some point. Camera. Isn't it too strong? This thing can still take photos. Memo, I can finally take notes, but it may not be safe to write it down. I don't understand the principle of this phone myself. If the person who made it leaves a backdoor for me to easily check, then I'll have to leave it. WeChat guy, really just call it WeChat without changing the icons. Who is your product manager? Is it decent to just copy this? You register on WeChat, and I'll pull you into the group later. Old Jiang saw that Luchuan was having a lot of fun, but still couldn't figure out how this kid could directly activate his energy. However, he quickly accepted that it was normal for such an outrageous thing to happen to the chosen person. This jade phone also doesn't have a phone card. Luchuan directly registered a WeChat account with his account password and didn't dare to be mischievous with his nickname, so he used Luchuan directly. Fist breaks through the sky, Jiang Tao requests to add you as a friend. Puff, it's okay to punch through the sky, but Luchuan almost laughed as he looked at the screen. He hit second place, Lao Jiang. Luchuan's message list had his first friend Lao Jiang, and soon a new group chat called Blue Star People's Camp was added. Fist breaks the sky, Jiang Tao invites you to join the group chat. Oh, there are 387 people in the group, and surprisingly, so many people have actually traveled here. Fist breaks through the sky and Jiang Tao says, at Luchuan welcomes newcomers, my newly recruited disciple Luchuan, Rose, Void Walker Yangming. At Luchuan welcomes newcomers. Judging by his name, he should be a handsome young man. Let's take a photo in the group first. Li Huijin, who lacks wood in the 5 elements, said, support explosive photos +1. I'm going to die without handsome guys. Escaping Heavenly King Lu Baimu. Support explosive photos +1, Luchuan looked at the screen with a blank expression on his face. Indeed, no matter which world he was in, the first thing new members did when they joined the group was to be urged by the old members to send photos. And this Void Walker Yangming, this guy can't be the little purple man who was hit and run away by Wu Ji last night outside the Zhenbei Pass, full of vulgar words. End of this chapter. Chapter 9, Old Jiang, you are actually this kind of person. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9, Old Jiang, you are actually this kind of person. Luchuan didn't pay attention to the people at him in the group for the time being. Instead, he clicked on the group chat information and dealt with the commotion coldly. The first user among the group members should be the group leader, nicknamed Xia Tianlong, the head of the organization, who looks like a big shot. Soon, Luchuan noticed that the nicknames of the over 100 people in front of him were quite serious, and at a glance, he roughly knew his characteristics. Like Lao Zhang's fist breaking through the sky, and everything that can be done through Zhangqinghe, the land of Luo Dinghua is just a stone's throw away, with an indestructible body in the sky. He also found Li Qian inside, nicknamed the Eye of Imprisonment. After the 100th anniversary, the friends who joined the WeChat group later had different styles of nicknames, such as the 5 Elements Lack of Wood, the Escaping Heavenly King, who didn't want to go to work but were cute and had no idea what they were doing. This also includes Huachanga, whose nickname is Death Like the Wind. Huachanga. Brother, how much do you love Oso? It is obvious that they are 2 generations, and there should be a significant age difference between them. They should not have come to this world at the same time. As Luchuan clicked to add Li Qian and Huachanga as friends, he also considered what kind of internet name he should choose. Judging from the function of his golden finger, should it be called Bridge Fortune Telling? While he was still daydreaming, there was new news in the group chat. Luo Dinghua, who is just a stone's throw away, said, I just saw the news after the meeting ended. At Luchuan, welcome Xiao Lu. It has been several years since new comrades came. We are all happy to hear your news. If you have any needs or difficulties here, please feel free to report to the organization at any time. Now there is a question that everyone is quite concerned about. I want to ask you first, when you came over, was there already 5 barrels in Ijo sitting in front of the screen? Luchuan instantly straightened his body and felt a feeling of Wang Shi's northern pacification of the Central Plains Day, family sacrifices never forget to tell Naiwan. Some of the compatriots who came here may have been away from Blue Star for more than a decade or even decades, still concerned about this issue. He thought for a few seconds, then held down the message from Luo Dinghua and clicked on the reply. Hello, thank you very much for your concern. Omit a paragraph that cannot be written. Perhaps if new people come over in a while, it will bring us good news and good news. Luchuan's reply caused a group of people to explode in the group. Luo Dinghua was the first to reply with a thumbs-up expression on Luchuan's face, and then many big shots with more serious nicknames appeared. Most of the replies to him were also thumbs-up expressions. After the big shots appeared, they began to raise their concerns one by one, such as whether the goal of building a moderately prosperous society in all respects has been achieved, the world political landscape, and so on. Regardless of whether Luchuan could answer, the big shots would politely express their gratitude. After the big shots finished their questioning, others who had the courage began to ask questions. The issues that young people are concerned about are similar to those of Huachanga. Some people want to know if One Piece is over, some want to know the sequels and endings of unfinished novels and TV dramas at that time, and some are more concerned about new works and gossip by celebrities. Most of these questions can be answered by Luchuan, and the most awkward question comes from an ordinary female fan. Luchuan can only hint very gently that the star-collapsed room she chased has collapsed into a prison cell. It's really easy to pass the time in online water groups. Luchuan didn't feel like he was chatting for long until he got hungry and looked at the time on his phone before realizing that it had been over an hour. During the chat, several young ladies were added to their WeChat accounts, and we were able to chat quite well. Unfortunately, they were all in a utopia and could only be online friends. I don't know when we will be able to meet in reality. Looking up at Lao Jiang, he sat steadily beside him, meditating and practicing, with all his energy slowly gathering towards him. Luchuan felt a bit ashamed. Even old Jiang, who is a master in the realm of divine powers, works so hard to cultivate. As a newcomer, he only knows how to surf the internet. Are you hungry? Then let's go eat. Old Jiang seemed to notice Luchuan's gaze and stood up to end his cultivation. You have just entered the field, don't spend too much energy on your phone. Luchuan quickly nodded in agreement. There was no charging port on the Jade phone, and when in use, it could only rely on its vitality to start and charge. Since you can use your own energy, let me give you this storage ring as well. Put away your phone normally and don't take it out and use it casually when you're not in this office or home. Luchuan took the storage ring from old Jiang's hand and felt an empty space after injecting his vitality. It was about the size of old Jiang's office. With a gentle touch of the phone and storage ring, the phone was stored in the storage ring. Old Jiang stood up and opened the office door, only to find a young man standing outside. His sharp gaze was like that of old Jiang. Dean Jiang. The young man saw old Jiang bowing respectfully, straightened his waist, and his eyes fixed on Luchuan without hesitation. Wu Zi, what can I do for you? I heard that you have recruited a new disciple, said the young man named Wu Zi, who returned to his respectful attitude when answering Lao Zhang's question. I want to come and see him and see how far apart I am from a true genius. He wants to have a fight with me. Luchuan clearly felt the fighting spirit and disobedience of the young man outside the door, and it seemed that he was one of the good seedlings that old Jiang had rejected. Luchuan has just entered the realm, and you are already at the peak of your agility. You can't see anything now. Perhaps in a year and a half, both of you will enter the Rui realm, and you can have a sparring then. Lao Jiang is not against competition among young people, but his words are more like adding fuel to the fire for Wu Zi. After a year and a half from entering the Tao to reaching the realm of prosperity, is he another senior Huachanga? Wu Zi's gaze seemed to be about to burst into flames. Binary University, Wu Zi. I am very, very, looking forward to the day we spar. I hope you are really a genius like Huashuechang, and don't make me wait too long. Mom, are we scheduled to put it on the shelves now? I haven't said anything yet. Z. What are you doing? A female voice shouted at the end of the office corridor. Luchuan couldn't see anyone inside the door, but the young man with a fierce look like a wolf dog at the door turned into a firewood dog in an instant. A lady in a white shirt, with a level of beauty comparable to Li Qian, ran over and said, Dean Jiang, did Z not cause any trouble for you? Nothing, Z has been doing quite well lately. Jiang Hua often praises him in front of me, indicating that he definitely has one spot in the annual college competition. Don't worry, Teacher Wu. We were just chatting just now. Damn it, Lao Jiang, something's wrong with you. Why is your tone so gentle when speaking? Beautiful young woman, surnamed Wu Lihua, whom Aunt Li wanted to do divination before leaving. I'll go, old Jiang, you're such a person. No, it's good. Dean Jiang, you are the person Z admires the most. I have always wanted to ask you to give him some guidance on his cultivation when you have time, but I am worried that it will delay your precious time. If you don't understand any questions about cultivation, just come and ask me directly. I am the Dean of the Martial Arts Academy, and preaching and teaching is my job. Old Jiang said to Wu Zi with a serious expression on his face. That's it, Lao Jiang. You're hopeless. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Hardcore Guidance. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Hardcore Guidance. Old Jiang was tightly controlled by this teacher Wu, so he vaguely agreed to check Wu Zi's recent cultivation progress after finishing his meal and give him some guidance. Luchuan can only roast in his heart that you haven't given me any serious advice up to now. Who is the authentic disciple? He was also somewhat disappointed in his heart. Early in the morning, when old Jiang interviewed him, he left a good impression on him. Now it seems like he is really a scumbag who betrayed his family and cheated on him. This strange group of four immediately caught the attention of almost everyone as soon as they walked into the cafeteria, including the legendary new disciple of Dean Jiang, Luchuan, Dean Jiang's former rumored disciple Wu Zi, and Dean Jiang's rumored affair. Luchuan is not accustomed to this feeling of being noticed, just like walking on the street with everyone staring at you, inevitably feeling like he has dirt on his face or if his clothes are not properly dressed. The cafeteria of the college provides free meals and also offers some exquisite dishes that are helpful for cultivation, which require additional fees. Luchuan followed old Jiang straight to the window of the free meal, learning from old Jiang's demonstration and ordering 2 meat and 2 vegetables, as well as a large bowl of rice. Luchuan increasingly realized that Wu Zi and Lao Jiang were very similar. Apart from their equally sharp eyes, both of them maintained a straight waistline, a serious expression with a serious smile on their faces, and even looked like they were holding their heads to eat. Something's wrong, something's really wrong. The 3 men at the table were all quietly picking up rice, except for Teacher Wu who kept talking. I heard that Dean Jiang also went to Zhenbeiguan yesterday. Fortunately, with your presence, the northern border was so stable. 3 years ago, during the Jingwu battle, it was thanks to your and Teacher Li's critical actions that turned the tide of the battle. Lao Jiang's eyebrows jumped and he nodded in response. Z, you must work hard and practice diligently, and in the future, you will also become a man who stands firm like Dean Jiang. Wu Zi let out a muffled snort with his nose, indicating that he heard it. Your name is Luchuan, isn't it? Oh, you look really beautiful. Dean Jiang personally selected a disciple who must be exceptionally talented. You and Z are both classmates in the college, so we need to take care of each other in the future. Luchuan nodded awkwardly and looked up at Wu Zi sitting across from him. His mouth was filled with food and he was chewing it hard, his fierce gaze indicating that he must take good care of himself when he has the opportunity in the future. The 3 men who were busy eating quickly ended the battle, and Teacher Wu's food had not been touched much yet. You guys go first. There are still many students in the college who need treatment this afternoon. Z, you should listen to Dean Jiang and behave well. The 3 men left the cafeteria as if fleeing, and Luchuan clearly breathed a sigh of relief when he saw old Jiang and Wu Zi walking out of the cafeteria. Luchuan also had some expectations as he stood under the arena in the training area. This was the first time he had seen cultivators in this world engage in a fight up close. Strictly speaking, Huachanga casually captured the black-clothed man and the ice cubes empty-handed to Jiang Mo on the street during the rainy night, which could not be considered a fight. Just like before, you attack first. Old Jiang stood on the side of the arena, clenching his fists and swinging his posture. Wu Zi stood on the other side of the arena, putting on the same posture. After hearing Lao Jiang's words, he did not immediately attack, but stood still and stared at Lao Jiang. Even standing on stage, Luchuan could feel Wu Zi's momentum growing stronger. His sharp eyes were full of war intent. Luchuan closed his eyes, and indeed, Wu Zi's vitality was slowly surging towards him. Wu Zi began to run, and his fists gradually began to shine as he ran. He quickly approached old Jiang, charging his right fist backwards and slamming it heavily into old Jiang's face. Bang! Lao Jiang extended his left forearm to block the punch. The golden light on Wu Zi's hand dissipated, and the collision of his fists caused air vibrations and sonic explosions, as well as a cloud of smoke and dust. Accumulate a deliberate punch. In Luchuan's shocked gaze, Wu Zi rose up into the air, his left hand fiercely elbowed towards old Jiang's head, and his right hand once again emitted a golden light. After being blocked by old Jiang's casual elbow strike, it hit old Jiang's neck. This strong hand cracked skull. From beginning to end, Lao Jiang only used his left hand to block, and his right fist began to shine. A heavy right punch hit Wu Zi's stomach, and Wu Zi slid through the air like a sandbag, hitting his original position heavily. I told you before, don't jump when you're not sure you'll kill the enemy in one go. Old Jiang frowned, his tone very dissatisfied. This punch hasn't run away. It's definitely a powerful fist that breaks through the sky. I'll go, Lao Jiang. Your punch breaks through the sky, isn't it this kind of punch? And Wu Zi, you can't even do this trick. How could you have deliberately started punching, and even after completing a set of great moves, you were amazed and still kept them? Wu Zi stood up unsteadily, his momentum clearly not as strong as before, but the fighting spirit in his eyes remained fiery. So he charged forward again, and the heavy punches he swung were still taken down by Lao Jiang. Use your brain, your fist must be able to hit the enemy in order to be useful. After receiving more than a dozen punches, old Jiang kicked Wu Zi away and hit the ground heavily. With each punch and kick, Luchuan felt pain as he watched from the audience. Before coming, he thought that Lao Jiang would correct each other's movements like a boxing coach guiding his students, but the two really started to confront each other head-on. No wonder Lao Hua secretly advised him to choose Fei, senior brother, and family members before leaving. Wu Xiu advances bravely, it's not like you rush forward without thinking, come back. Old Jiang shouted fiercely on the arena, and Wu Zi struggled to get up again. Wu Zi listened to Lao Jiang's words and increased his movements of turning and moving, but even laymen like Luchuan could tell that he was doing better than not adjusting. That's all for today. My strength and momentum have improved a lot, but my mind hasn't improved. I'll think about it when I go back. Old Jiang once again smashed Wu Zi to the ground, announcing the end of today's practice. Luchuan secretly harbored resentment in his heart. Is this educational method too hardcore? The so-called guidance is just 2 punches and 1 kick, falling to the ground 3 times. But when I saw Wu Zi being beaten hard and looking both grateful and ashamed, I felt that this person deserved to be beaten, one willing to be beaten and the other willing to be beaten. Luchuan followed old Jiang back to the office and immediately took out his phone. He found that Huachanga had already approved his friend application and sent a message asking if he wanted to have lunch together. However, Li Qian has not yet approved his friend application, so it may not be convenient to use her phone in the college. Don't pay too much attention to Wu Zi's affairs. The boy's personality was a little impulsive, and he should have been angry for a while today. Old Jiang suddenly said, his mother wanted me to accept him at first, but I refused after many requests. The meaning of "don't have to worry about it" is that the promise made in the morning to have a fight at Rui Realm has become invalid. That's not true. I mean, you may soon surpass him, so don't take it too hard when the time comes. Luchuan roast in his heart that no matter how hard I hit you, my son vomited blood with 2 punches and 1 kick. Uncle Jiang, you seem to have great confidence in me. Because you are a natural choice. Wu Zi may be considered a genius in Bainang City, but he is just an ordinary genius. He looks quite similar to Uncle Jiang, a bit like he's imitating you, Luchuan hinted secretly, wanting to see if old Jiang would feel guilty. He's not imitating me, it should be said that both he and I are imitating his father, Yi Haoran. Note. Deliberate punching, powerful hand cracking, and awe-inspiring power are all skills of a hero named Jinghao in League of Legends, who uses his fists to strike powerful moves. After the star Jiang Mofu's domestic violence incident, the hero and his skills are often associated with domestic violence on the internet. Domestic violence is not right, and I wish all readers a happy life and a happy family. End of this chapter.